Let's get started then. And of course, good morning on my behalf as well. I'm Mikko Aro. I'm working in the Connect Technology and Innovation, so in our R&D organization, where I'm heading our services product management in Europe. And my topic today, I have like 7 years history at Kone. I've been like all that time driving our transformation from, let's say, very traditional company into something different. So I will be today going briefly through our like journey and the main learnings, with the focus on how do we align the organization for the real outcomes, and then for performance, how do we combine these two? We know actually, if you think about the world is full of companies, startups, and also like more existing companies that have used a lot about like agile methodologies, transformed and being very agile in the development. But still, there are companies that have also failed. Not because of they being very agile, delivering value to customers quickly and doing all by the book. We learned that it's not enough, and I'll tell about that a little bit today. But hey, before we go there, so very briefly, majority of you know Kone, but I'll show a couple of things. So we are very old Finnish company, so over 100 years, not exactly as old as Scania or Peter was today already saying, but we've been in the business quite a long time. So this kind of bare metal company that used to do like the metal boxes hanging on the rope and going up and down, and that has been our business already quite a long time. Nowadays we are a lot about others as well, so not only manufacturing the elevators and escalators, but also provide a lot of services on the people flow, and more digital stuff, digital services and capabilities, what we sell to our customers and deliver there. Number-wise, we are a global company and we are like moving a lot of people every day. So we've been calculating that over 1 billion people every day is using our equipment all over the world. If you look a little bit more about the numbers, this is for purpose so that you understand the kind of complexity and volume of our business. So a typical working day in our every day is that we are doing 80,000 maintenance visits to the elevators and escalators. For example, in this building, there's Kone elevators. Our technicians are going to site and doing the physical maintenance there. We have over 1.5 million units in our like maintenance base, meaning that we maintain over 1.5 million customer elevators and escalators. We are global, so operations we have in 60 countries. And the last number I want to say here is that we are mainly considered as a business-to-business company. But I can say that we are at least in the Finnish landscape, the one that has most customers. We have over 500,000 customers actively. So we are like a consumer business, but still in the more or less in the B2B. But having that amount of customers is very like a Kone way. Then we have also introduced a lot of like new digital services and capabilities. So to mention a couple of, we have first of all introduced for our maintenance customers this kind of predictive maintenance service, Kone 24/7 Connected Services, which is an IoT-based, cloud-based technology providing like fault prediction and prevention. We have also Kone Office Flow type of services where we provide new digital experiences to customers inside the building and in the lobby to elevate the overall like experience to the next level. So this is where we are. But now I rewind like 5 years back a little bit. So we had very ambitious targets on building these digital services in our company. And we really had ambitious targets. We want to bring something new, we understood that it's not only about like elevators and escalators. But at the same time, we also understood that actually we have a lot of challenges. So our starting point was that we kind of realized that, hey, the digital services are living in a completely different kind of world. There's need for rapid change, continuous change, learning all the time. We need to have the flexibility. Our decision-making speed was very slow, very traditional. Top people, guys will decide and so on. What we also knew or faced was that our organizational way of working was not top-notch for this kind of products. We were very heavily focusing on what we need to be doing. Business was basically setting requirements and everyone was allowed to set those. And it became like a yelling contest. Stakeholder requirements were unclear. We actually didn't know clearly what needed to be developed. A lot of dependencies between the teams and so on. So the problems or the challenges, they piled up pretty quickly. So the development teams, they faced like frustration a lot about, hey, where are we going? Why are we doing this? Why can't we get a decision? Do we do this or do we do that? Poor requirement, changing requirements, and unrealistic expectations. Then all the stakeholders on the other hand were thinking that, hey, we don't see what is happening. We can't predict things when they are going out. We can't trust. You are always late. You can't react into any changes, and so on. So we were in a situation that we realized that whatever we do, it's going to be better than where we are, because our ways of working was quite much about the same, how we did the traditional equipment. So how we started was that we basically started with two things. So we started about talking about the change that we need to be doing, and starting that with kind of small experiments. And now we're talking about the agile change. So we started small in order to convince everyone in the teams as well as in the stakeholders that, hey, we are going to the right direction. You can see the progress, what we are making. So we didn't want to do the kind of big bang in changing everything, but rather just like learning and convincing, communicating and so on. And that was the foundation that we built then for the bigger change. And now I will go a couple of years further. So we did the change, and this is the highlight what kind of things we actually changed. So Peter was talking there a lot about the change what Scania has been doing, moving from towards the value streams, cross-functional teams, and so on. So this is also what we did over the time. So we went into cross-functional end-to-end teams that we put responsible for the real outcomes, for the customer values. And we illustrated that through the KPIs that this is what we want to achieve. We stopped the focus from the outputs, i.e. what features you need to build, into what are the real results, what we want to get. We took the agile practices, so we developed a little bit our own. So we use Scrum. We borrow some practices from the SAFe, but anyway, our own model is the key for this. We also empowered the teams, made the decision making, pushed it down, and what was the lever for that was that we clearly communicated that what are the outcomes, what are the needle movers that the team is responsible for, and left then the decisions that what do we need to actually implement for the teams, how do we get there into those. We of course introduced new roles and responsibilities according to the agile practices and shifted a little bit like people here and there. We took DevOps into use. We didn't have that earlier. That was also one of the key things. Then one big topic was that we took the OKRs into place, and that's what we also nowadays use as the main communication tool towards our business stakeholders, that hey, these are our targets, this is what we are targeting, and here we are. So we didn't need anymore discuss about whether that feature functionality, is it in time or is it late, because that's a game you can't win. It's very difficult to play that game. And also, while we were routing the previous slide, what I was saying through the experiments, we were kind of should I say, teaching or educating our stakeholders as well that the outcomes are the ones you are actually after. You are not after the features and functions in most of the cases, and that was really key for making the big change, and which then resulted eventually that we reduced the number of monthly steering meetings and all this kind of not so much needed bodies actually. Because the communication and progress was happening through the OKRs and really the understanding of how are we doing and what is the real progress. But above all these, the key thing still which I consider now in the change is that it's still, and we are working by the way still with this, it's the rooting the right agile mindset into everyone in the organization. Because if you think about the agile principle of continuous improvement, it means that you need to be improving also your ways of working. So you cannot be nailing them down that this is exactly how we are going to work for the next 10 years. But if you have the right mindset, then you can also change the ways of working while you learn more. As a result of this change, so when we became much more agile and so on, we were able to improve, for example, over 90% our cycle time for certain capabilities. So 90% is huge, but it also means, if you think about that before this change, it was very long to get a 90% improvement for it. So the ways of working, that improved a lot our capability to deliver. But then we faced actually another problem, which is that we have not a perfectly but very well functioning factory that was capable of delivering capabilities and the outcomes and so on. And that was the agile teams and our way of working. So now I'll take one step back. So let's look a little bit about our business so you'll understand what I next mean with this. So we basically do, especially in our maintenance or service business, there are certain rules or values what we continuously deliver. They are not actually changing so much. We have 30,000 maintenance technicians on the field. So it's very important that we are productive because it's our business. We need to be productive in the maintenance actions and so on. And on the other hand also we need to make those guys that they're satisfied. Because that's also the kind of productivity that the people there feel that hey, the tools are good and our processes are good and instructions and all the services that they use are good. Then on the customer side, they typically require transparency. Seeing that what we are doing and where the bills are coming and how often we go there and what do we do and all these kind of things. As well as, of course, maintenance is a lot about preventing the equipment from failing. So that customer, especially the days back before we had IoT technologies, they had to call us that, hey, now my elevator isn't working, come and fix it. So preventing those, as well as now more and more, it's about predicting the upcoming failures and preventing them from happening. So removing the hassle from the customer and the inconvenience of non-working equipment. So even though we are introducing a lot of new digital services, the core values and expectations still from the customers and from our technicians, they are not changing. The means to deliver them are. So we have the very well working factory, but then we faced a lot of questions from our teams that, hey, we have a machine here that works, but where are we going? What do we do? Why do we do? What is our competition? And all kinds of questions about the direction, where we are going, where are we focusing, what do we do and what do we don't do, what do we select and what do we don't select. So our learning was that it's not enough that like agility in our kind of environment, it's not enough. It just enables that whatever you do with your capabilities, you get it out pretty quickly. But is it right? Especially on the long term? That's not guaranteed. So we needed clearly a direction for that. And if you look about, we identified a kind of gap. We had the high-level visions on all the products, where do we want to go, very aspirational, nice wordings and so on. And then we had the delivery there that, hey, the daily work, what we are doing very efficiently and nicely. But in the middle, we actually had quite a lot of questions from the teams, from the stakeholders, and so on, that started really that, what are the real problems we want to be solving? Who are we doing this? Why are we doing this? What do we do? What do we don't do? What kind of enablers we need in the longer term in order to be able to deliver? So how are we going to reach the vision was the kind of question that we were having. So how do we start approaching this to build this kind of good direction and plan, so that it can be also communicated and discussed with all the stakeholders and so on. So we started to create the product strategies. So that was our and is our response to giving the kind of direction and answers that where are we going on the longer term. So I'm not talking about what will happen in next sprint or in next quarter, but this is between the vision that is many years ahead and then in the middle. So our approach, if you look about, we take, of course, the company strategy is driving us. That's the ultimate goal, what everyone or defines the ultimate things we want to do in the company. Then we have the clear business targets. We started looking about over that we need to understand and generate the insight from the markets, from the customers, from the users, from the industry, competition, technology, regulation, and so on. We looked outside that, hey, this is how the outside world is looking like, and we created and continuously generate then the insight about what does this mean for us? What does the external world look like? What is the technology? What are the key technologies? We all know in this room that digital technologies, for example, they're developing very rapidly. And even though we are a relatively big organization, we don't have all the capability to explore all the technologies and so on continuously. We need to have the kind of longer term visibility and thinking that, hey, we believe into this and we build our capabilities. Strategy, we started to look about a couple of things. It was about the aspirational direction and the targets. So, and the purpose with this is to inspire everyone. Then we looked about the focus. So, where do we actually want to put our efforts? What are the key development directions that we want to be taking? And we created that with around this kind of 3 lighthouses, like we call them. So this gives the direction, main development directions where the products and the streams are focusing, and it also scopes out things. So saying clearly that, hey, this is not what we are going to do, which is actually even more important than saying that, hey, this is where we go. Then, based on the, do the continuous like competitor, this kind of like analysis and benchmarking. Part of the strategy is also that how are we going to win? While you understand roughly what your competition is doing, what do we need to do differently? Where do we want to be focusing in order to be better? And in this kind of environment and products we are talking about, it's very important to have the kind of understanding that this is what makes us better than our competition is. And typically you don't actually do this kind of like thinking. And then when you have this, we created a high-level plan. So it's not a roadmap of features and functions, but rather this kind of long-term plan, giving again the directions and steps we need to be building in order to get towards the vision. So a multi-year, it's not a plan, but again, like guidance that, hey, these things we want to be building first, and then next we focus on that kind of things. Then we also like realized that it's not only about building the like path, but we also need to understand that, hey, what do we need in order to reach that direction and vision? So do we have the right competencies in the house? Do we have the right partners in the house? Do we need some new technologies or something in order to be able to reach that vision, so that we can also react into those kind of things? Because it's not self-evident that you build the things with the people you have in-house right now. It might be that you need to shift your competencies to something different. Like in our case, for example, we continuously see the need to have more people that are capable of working with data. So, like data engineers, data scientists, machine learning engineers, and so on. So, to make the kind of credible entity of the product strategy, you need to be looking in our world also that. So, this is an example of the framework that we are like roughly using. So we have the product delivery, so the day-to-day actions that we are doing. Then we are having the vision and the strategy, and in the middle we are having then the tactics to lead it, meaning that we have the OKRs, we have the initiatives, our way to organize the portfolio, and we have the product like feature roadmaps. This is how it could look like. So if you think from the product delivery, we are doing the quarterly plans, and then we have the sprints in the Scrum and so on. The feature roadmaps, well, every one of us is aware of those. What does it mean? So it's about the timelines for certain developments. What do we need to do? Because one learning from our case was that if you talk about outcomes, they are still delivered through some kind of actions that you are doing. Of course, those need to be understood as well. So we are having the traditional roadmaps. Then the initiatives are the bigger development efforts, what we use then in the portfolio side of like management to understand that, hey, how much do we roughly need to invest on these kind of things in order to get them done. The OKRs, the product goals, these are the very important ways to communicate. So, and this is, we've been now using these for maybe 4 years, and the rocky road to get into good road like OKRs, we are not even yet there yet, so that they are really outcome focused and short and clear. Or first OKRs were like novels, like one page written text on things and topics, and we were like, oh, how come this be so complicated? No one understands anything about this. But now we are roughly there that we can communicate pretty simply the things that we are targeting. But again, the journey has been quite long. And then on top, so the product vision, product strategy we already went through, but through this framework, we are now roughly like managing the topic. And again, then if you look about the timelines, the more at the top you are, the longer term topics you are talking about. And then at the bottom, it's the daily work, what the teams are doing, but all these are more or less interconnected with each other. So, what did we actually learn? So my headline for the presentation was just how to align organization for outcomes and performance. And our learning is that the agility is creating the performance when it's being done correctly, and still emphasizing that we are on the journey. Still, we are not perfect at all with this, but improving continuously. So agility creates the performance, and our guiding light has been that you need to push the end-to-end responsibility in the teams, and also organizing the team's responsibilities around the customer value or the expected outcomes. That brings the accountability for the team to make sure that whatever it takes to reach the goals that we will get them. Then empowering the teams really for decision making and real results is key. That brings the fast decision making and removes a lot about the organizational hassle what decision making can bring. And of course, while you do it with clear KPIs, outcome-based KPIs, that this is what you are after, it's eventually easier, even though it's not easy to build the KPIs and definitions and all these kind of things, but it is something that really makes sense. And then with the agility, focusing really on the customer value. We also made the kind of mistake in the beginning that we only measured the agile performance of the teams. So how well does the team function? And of course that's important. But if it's the primary methodology or KPIs, you actually lose the most important things, why the team is working, which is the value and the results, what you should be delivering to customers, or in our case also to our field technicians, because they are a big user group of ours, internal services. Then the strategy, we see that it ensures the outcomes, giving the real direction, the selections on what we want to be solving, what do we want to, on the long term, be achieving. So it contains the vision part, so it needs to be kind of aspirational and inspiring for the people, because without that we easily lose the kind of momentum and people start asking, hey, why are we actually doing this thing? Clear selections and directions, what do we focus, what problems, or what do we carve out. Then in the longer term, measurable targets that we then also split down into the OKRs, and then the competitiveness and assets, they are also in our type of business very, very, very important. The topic I didn't discuss here due to the time limitations, but wanted to take it into the learnings, was then that the leadership really is the one that is gluing these to the success, meaning that neither of these one or two alone are good enough unless the leadership behavior is supporting it, meaning that empowering the teams, giving the clarity, continuously communicating, being there available for whatever clarifications are needed. But above all, giving the kind of trust towards the teams and individuals that, hey, you are the experts, you are closest probably to the data, you can make the decisions. And the last thing I want to say about this is that trust contains always the other side, which is caring. Because it's very easy for a leader to say that I trust you, you do whatever you want. But that's where the failure then comes, unless you really show that you care, meaning that whenever the team or teams need help, need they have some obstacles or need clarifications, whatever help it is, that the leadership is available for then giving the guidance. Not necessarily the answers that do this or that, but clarifying the things, clarifying the directions and so on. Good. I started by saying there are many companies that have failed with this, and one of the major reasons is that they have been lacking the kind of, what I use here, the product strategy, but the longer term understanding that where do we want to go? What do we want to solve? Where do we focus? There are many services, internet is full of those where the agile execution has been perfect, but the direction is lost or missing. So you need all of these. Thank you.